All right. I believe this means we are early. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sorts and sizes and persuasions, welcome to another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy, the SGG of this terribly named podcast. It's one of the worst names in podcasting that I think I could have come up with. But the QA, that still has some relevance. That's the important part, especially this week, as we're doing something a little different with the show. And one of the reasons why we're going a little early, that obviously stands for question and answer, a QA. And this week, it's not just going to be my face or my voice in your eyes and ears. We have a really complicated situation to discuss, and felt it was important to bring on another friend of mine who has been kind of with me side by side in a lot of these experiences, and someone that's also been equally frustrated about how some of this commentary has gone down. So allow me to reintroduce you to my brother from another mother, one Mr. TK Bay.
Good morning. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. So we're going early on this, and we've got a lot to chew through, but I'm going to try and keep this as a bit more of a focused, clearing the air where we've been throughout all of this. And we normally do a catch-up conversation on Thursdays, and we opted not to do our Thursday
Yeah.
show because this whole Team Pixel situation was blowing up. And this is probably like I feel like maybe the angriest I've ever seen you in just pure
It,
agitation.
yeah, I mean, it threw me off. Like, I just, okay, I've worked with many brands over the years, and I've been part of Team Pixel for the longest time,
Yeah.
and never have I ever been put in a
Well, it
position.
just didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, not to step on yours. We're gonna go through
Yeah.
all of
Sorry.
it, but
Sorry.
just in terms of our decision not to do the Thursday show, I really felt
It
it
was
was
too
important for us to
fresh.
take a step
Yeah.
back.
And
Yeah.
and I feel like we would have got into it with I don't think we would have got into it in the right mindset. I think we needed a couple of days to kind of absorb things, and there's been some things that have been updated since that conversation started. But there was a lot of talk about it. There was a lot of people, putting disclaimers, putting their position, explaining, and so on Team Pixel, and some people leaving, saying that they're not going to work with Team Pixel. So there was a lot of
Yeah.
conversation going on. I felt like
And a
had we
lot of
jumped into it,
accusations. Yeah.
yeah, no, a lot of pointing fingers. And again, we didn't choose to be put in this position. It was done, and the conversation started, and we were basically just in the middle of it without even asking for it. But yeah, no,
Right.
it was a lot, and I feel like hopefully today we have a little bit more a better
I,
conversation.
I have a
Better.
bit more buffer.
Yeah.
I've slept twice since then,
Yes. Yes.
decently, or three times. I've slept three times since then,
Pretty good.
so I feel like the high energy feels,
Yeah.
um, they're still there,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah. No, no.
I've built up enough of a cushion so that it won't just be me frothing at the mouth and getting really lit up. I want to take this back farther,
Okay.
um, because again, in addressing both Google's response and the PR agency's response, and all of the media outlets that pounced on this as an opportunity to degrade the credibility of folks that have participated with Team Pixel, which was a really ugly look for outlets that also get early access devices and have had travel and accommodation paid for in the past.
Yeah.
Um, because I was going to take it back, and then I threw that little barb in there.
Well,
You
no,
see
no. I
how I
mean,
did that? Because
yeah,
I'm
the
super bitter
reality
still.
when you look at I mean, our understanding of the label Team Pixel and non-Team Pixel. The reality at the end of the day is they have programs for different type of creators, be it a creator, a
Yeah.
media, whatever you want to label them. But both sides receive units to review. Both sides may or may not receive, travel accommodations or travel to the event.
Hmm.
It's not like one gets it and one doesn't. There's a
Yeah.
very distinct thing that the people that have been commenting on it make it sound like it's one side only.
Right.
And the disclosures that some of the comments that we're talking about, they need to be done on both sides. Both media and non-media need to say that, hey, this unit was sent to us to review.
Exactly.
When we say thank you to Google in our content, saying thank you to Team Pixel, thanks to Made by Google for sending us these devices to review, it's the disclaimer that we're saying, hey, these devices were sent to us. We didn't
Yeah.
buy this specific device. And a media outlet that covers these devices and writes their entire article should have that same disclosure the same way we do. But
Yeah.
to commentate on the making it sound like Team Pixel does not disclose and we are disclosing because we are the in a certain light kind of a situation. Again, I don't want to throw people
Right.
on the other side. I know many
Uh,
of the
I,
content
I
creators and the media people. So
I know
yeah,
you won't. That's my job. I'll be
it's
McBitter Pants, and that's
we're
fine.
gonna I'm gonna try to keep it factual this time, and a lot of the emotional
Well, here,
knee jerk thing
that's
kind of
part
was
of the
back
thing.
last Thursday for me. Yeah,
That's part of the thing about keeping it factual is
yeah,
a lot of people got up in their feels that they weren't Team Pixel, and
and I
that
understand
doesn't
partially why they
necessarily.
did. I'm not
I
gonna
get it,
I'm not gonna take
but
it out
that
of their
doesn't
why they went on. So yeah,
necessarily make their argument about device seeding programs better. And we're going to get into some of that
okay,
too.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I want to take it back, and I want to put you on the spot here for just a second. Can you
sure.
remember how you got onboarded to Team Pixel? Because I really had to go digging. Do you remember what your experience was when they invited you to join the program?
I um. I
And
want
it's
to say
okay. I mean,
I got
like,
it. No, no, no. I want to say I probably got an email from. I think I got an email from Team Pixel a long time ago, asking for if I'd like to be part of a special group of fans or people that are very, or Pixel fans or people that appreciate Google's. I'm putting the words in my mind, but
for
the
sure.
way I remember it, it was an email. That's how I was originally solicited. I responded
Hmm.
back to it, and there was a conversation back and forth. I don't recall ever getting on a phone call for this. I think at the
Right.
time it was all done via email, and the agreement had cut down to the point where I think it was around the Pixel 3, maybe. I want to
Hmm.
say around that time, maybe even, yeah, I probably want to say the Pixel 3. I don't think it was earlier than that. And that's how I mean, I didn't even know the team existed. There was, to my understanding at the
Right.
time, there was no Team Pixel. And when I joined it, I was actually quite happy to be part of it because I felt like I'll say even step back. At the time, I was working at XDA. At the time, I was a contractor for XDA. My channel wasn't really doing as good as where I've gotten to this level, and but I think back then I was a small creator that I was very happy to feel like I'm getting some attention from Google, and the Team Pixel was a way for me to be able to maybe work with them on some content, and that's how I got in. That'll be like the short end of the stick. I'll have to dig up emails if I to be able to figure it out, but it was very casual and
Hmm.
not no requirements, no. I mean, the only
Yeah.
thing they ever asked us, actually, no, at the beginning, they weren't even asking for that, if I remember correctly. I think the FTC requirement came up later. I think around I don't know if it was,
So
I'm not
I,
100%.
I
Yeah.
have a few receipts. They
Sure,
were
sure.
pretty again with my onboarding. I want to take us back because one of the things, if we're being factual
Yeah, yeah.
and we're responding to the responses,
Hmm.
both from Google directly and from the PR agency that manages Team Pixel,
Hmm.
there's been this retcon, in my opinion, of what Team Pixel was
Hmm.
so that Google can cover their ass. And
Okay.
I'm probably burning a bridge with Google here. I do not speak for TK. I don't speak for anyone else that I've ever worked with. But if Google is going to put out information that erodes my credibility, then I feel it's important for me to respond with the information as I saw it,
Okay.
right? As it was presented to me. So I want to take us back. The original introduction, the first mention that I can find of hashtag Team Pixel from Google had nothing to do with any kind of device seeding program,
Hmm.
had nothing to do with an organized influencer program, and was almost solely dedicated to photography on Instagram. So I'm
Oh,
gonna,
okay. Yeah. So we had
I,
different experiences on that side. Yeah.
no, no, but no, this is before they ever reached out to me. Now
Hmm.
remember, Google's
Oh, oh,
response
oh.
is Team Pixel is an influencer creator program, not a reviewer program, and they're trying to make it sound like Team Pixel has always been that, and that
Okay.
is completely factually not true.
That was never my understanding. Up till the point they put it in writing, it was
Uh,
never my understanding because I've been to
Again,
meetups and Yeah, sorry. I'll let you
There's
finish
a
your point.
variety of different creators, but it was never
And it has
originally
changed
launched.
over the time, but it has never been officially put down saying that we only work with influencers and creators only.
Okay.
That
So
that that was the
so
first time I've seen that statement. But go ahead.
the first mention of Google comes by way of the keyword blog in 2017.
Hmm.
And there is no organized Team Pixel. Hashtag Team Pixel. This is going to look a little funny because I don't screen share as well on Restream as we do on StreamYard. But with these pixel tips, your photos will bloom bright. And it's a photography blog
Hmm.
talking about tips and tricks on how to get the best shots. And if you would like your shots featured, don't forget to share your snapshots with Team Pixel for a chance to be featured on our Instagram account.
Yep, they've
From
done that quite a
Google,
bit. Yeah.
Team Pixel started. The first mention that is public that Google acknowledges this hashtag was an Instagram grassroots effort to share photos. Just like we had hashtag shot on iPhone, there was no organization and it was focused on photographers. One of the next one of the next major posts comes a little less than a year later in March of 2018, where they're trying to just organize the photos from people who have used that hashtag. And it's what makes hashtag Team Pixel click. And they just have demographics like, hey, we've got people all over the globe. These are some of the favorite shots that people like to capture. Here are a couple of our favorite standout shots. None of this is organized. None of this is influencers. None of this is beauty vloggers. None of this is, people that just go hype train on new product releases. None of this is reviewers. They were trying to make hashtag Team Pixel an organic
Yep.
feed
Hmm.
like hashtag shot on iPhone.
Yeah.
And this was an important aspect of the Team Pixel launch because one of the critical claims made by Google was how Pixel cameras were formidable. They
Hmm.
were the best cameras that you could have on a phone. They did the
Yeah.
best HDRs and they did the best snapshots and candids and portrait modes. So when we look at where Team Pixel started, they didn't achieve that organic rush of people jumping onto the Pixel because it has great cameras, sharing those on Instagram, where this wrap up article, what makes Team Pixel click, they're talking about the Team Pixel community on Instagram recently reached 35,000 members. So they're equating anyone who used the Team Pixel hashtag as a member of Team Pixel back in 2018. And that's all photography. That's all this
Well,
was
back when
just who
Instagram was
used,
about photography, but no, I agree. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
who used the hashtag on Instagram. And you were a
Exactly.
member of Team Pixel. And when you look at that number, that doesn't feel so good. Because think of the billion of people who would probably be using hashtag shot on iPhone. We see this organic style of trying to create the grassroots movement doesn't look like it was working. Coming directly from the Google keyword blog, there is not the momentum or the groundswell of people
There was
embracing pixels, sharing
exactly.
their photos on Instagram, and using this Team Pixel hashtag. So the initial incarnation of Team Pixel had nothing to do with influencers, marketing, device seeding, content creators. What Google has put out there as to
Mhm.
what Team Pixel has always been is immediately not true. And I have the receipts from the Google keyword blog. So when they're throwing people like us under the bus, they're already not correct. Their credibility is already off for
It's
what they're trying to describe as the origins of what this is. It's just been so clear, TK. Team Pixel has always been a creator, influencer, marketing division, hasn't it? I mean, don't look at our blog from 2017, where 35,000 members of Team Pixel were sharing photography on Instagram. That's not what this was all about. That was always marketing.
I'm assuming I think I saw so Snubs kind of pointed out as well a similar comment on Threads earlier today. I think it was yesterday. meaning the fact that she is a tech reviewer. By definition, she is a tech
Yep.
reviewer, not a creator, not an influencer, a tech creator, tech
Sure.
reviewer. And she's like, I'm scrolling through all her channel, all the videos that she has, and if you scroll through both of our channels, you'll see exactly what we are. I never go by the term influencer. I
Yep.
am if at very very minor situations, sometimes I'll say I'm a content creator, but at the end of the day, I'm a tech reviewer. I review tech. If it has tech in it, that's an interest to me. If it helps you life, if I mean, we've said it even on the channel here, let tech
For
help
sure.
you enjoy your life. So you're right. There's that loosey goosey kind of interpretation of how they're trying to label content like they're going to call us
Hmm.
creators, not influencers. But I mean, trying to play semantic at the end of the day to try to say like, no, we have a formalized review program, and then we have this thing on the side that's basically for influencers. And I'm like, yeah, you really need to be able to, like you said, speak exactly what happened and explain what was the goal of your request, because there had to be
Yeah.
a goal, right? That it didn't get posted by some new intern that just got hired. I hope not, at least. You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't like that. This had to have been vetted. This had to have been gone through some people, and whoever decided that this was okay, um, understood that this was the direction that maybe that Google wanted to go. Again, I can't put words in people's mouths. I don't know the channels between Google and their PR
Right.
company, but we started, as you said it yourself, it started as creators, people that own pixels, that took pictures of with pixels, and say started with the hashtag team pixel. And for the longest time, I'm not going to deny, I'll be full disclosure, I've actually been paid in the past for some of my content that I've shot, like on the Pixel 4 XL. I've
Yeah.
actually
I
had a
did a.
picture that was
I did
purchased
a.
from for to be used by
Yeah.
Google in their ads. So just to be full disclosure, I have done business. I have been paid by,
Hmm.
technically through their PR company, but paid by Google for one of my images in the
And
past.
same.
Yeah, and
I,
I've
I did.
also
I did
done,
a consulting run, and then I also
yeah,
did a hosting event for the
but
first generation
independent.
Pixel Buds.
I do want to make
So
sure that that
again,
was independent from Team Pixel. That was not
yeah,
let's can we use this picture on the team? No, no, no. This was more, hey, we like this
Google
post.
directly,
Google would
because
like
that's part
to,
of
yeah,
that's part of the issue with disclosures is the entity that we're working with is not Google.
no,
The entity
no,
that we're working with is a PR agency
hmm,
working on behalf of Google. And that is one
yes,
of the most important distinctions to be made is we are considered influencers. We don't consider ourselves influencers
yes,
by
and that,
the see, and this is what's so frustrating is there's nothing wrong with being considered an influencer, but now you've got a bunch of techies going, "Oh, but I'm not one of those girls who just poses with phones on Instagram." And people who are dropping comments like that are vile. And they're coming from people that both TK and I have worked with in the past. They're coming from people who should know better about throwing stones. They're coming from people who, again, they see an opportunity to make their credibility look better while eroding the credibility of anyone who's ever worked with this program. And it's a real bad look. It's a really petty, small, bitter looking look. And because we have lots of friends who I think they would consider themselves influencers and they wear that badge proud.
yeah,
There's
no,
nothing wrong
there's
with.
nothing wrong with being an influencer, or if you want to be called a creator. Again, I when people generally ask what I do, I typically say I make content on YouTube, and it's tech related.
I say
No,
I'm a tech reviewer. Yeah, that's
and
what I
and
call
and
myself.
and I try not to, like, yeah, but because the first thing they'll ask me is like, "Are you a YouTube influencer?" I'm like, "No, I am
No,
by no, I am
I don't
so far,
influence anybody.
so far the
People
opposite
argue
side of
with
what
me all the time.
influencing is. That is not my job. I am not about lifestyle. I am not about going out and no, no. There are creators. There are people that literally do that, and that is
For
their
sure.
thing. Absolutely, and I don't take away from that work. I just want to say, I want to be specific as to what I do and what you should
Yeah.
expect if you check out my channel on YouTube. You will get exactly what I'm saying. It's either content creation, just general content, or you could think of it again specifically as tech reviewer, because
Well,
that's all I
and
review.
this is all the hoops that we have to jump through now is
Yeah, no,
describing what kind of content we make, and we make tech review content. And this is one of the critical differences in how we're throwing around and how we're slinging influencer as an epithet, as some kind of insult.
And
And
it
again, it's
shouldn't
a
be, and
real
it
bad
shouldn't be.
look
Yeah, no, and it
for
shouldn't be. And
people who should know better, who are out there also trying to boost their content on platforms like Instagram Reels and TikTok. You can't tell me like you're really getting that hard-hitting investigative journalism in 90 seconds in an Instagram Reel. Well, actually, some people are doing that really well, but not a lot of us tech creators
no, and
because that's not
I
the game right
personally,
now.
I don't do, I do, I create content when it comes to Instagram, reels and shorts and so on. And those,
For
but
sure.
those are typically teasers for a video or
Yeah.
teasers for something coming up. It is by no means a full review in 60 seconds because
I,
it just
I've
can't.
I've started doing like really simple. My favorite videos to make are really simple tips and tricks. Like, can I get this concept
Yeah.
out in
I
59 seconds?
and I like those.
And
Those are easy to
and that's
digest
fine
content, and
for sure.
it's enjoyable on any platform you see it, and
They
you're smarter
they
at the end of
they
it.
they don't do well. Those
I
videos don't do
I
great. But the thing that I want to highlight before we move on, because we
Yeah.
still haven't even made it through the history of Team Pixel yet.
No, I'm with you.
The thing that I think is important for us to highlight is TK and I have never presented ourselves as lifestyle influencers.
No.
And that's important.
Yeah.
No one in our audience cares if we go on a lavish vacation. We're both very concerned about how our kids are presented on social media. We have different strategies for how we maintain that barrier, that buffer between family and tech reviewing. But because of the way that Google organizes their media relationships, we are not big enough and we're solo creators. We don't run a platform of media reporting. Like, I don't
Mhm.
have employees under me. So because I don't have a platform, I just have solo channels and my own personal blog. Google does not consider me media. Google has drawn these lines.
Yeah.
So even though I am a reviewer and I've worked for other outlets and I've been a reporter for hire for a number of publications, my personal channel, I'm just some influencer as far as Google is concerned. So Google has pushed me to this PR agency that manages their influencer and media relationships. Their influencer and content creator
Yeah,
relationships. Again,
exactly.
I've got to be very clear about
The line was
these
drawn for
words,
us. Well, no, but the line was drawn for
but
us,
we
not
don't
by us.
consider ourselves
Yeah.
influencers. And we've had conversations with this PR agency, and we've had conversations with Google representatives directly, but Google, they don't consider us media. So we've been working with this PR company as they consider us influencers, but the only influence we have is in creating tech reviews. So I was onboarded on Team Pixel in 2019. So between 2018 and
Hmm.
2019, we saw a concerted effort to try and organize some kind of group to cover Pixel devices, cover Google events, and a lot of us who came in early around that 2018 2019 period where Google was walking away from the hashtag Team Pixel as like a grassroots sort of organic Instagram tag that was not building the kind of audience I think they hoped for. I can't screen share this currently because I haven't redacted personal information and proprietary stuff, but I have the email. I still
Hmm.
have the very first email that this PR agency sent to me, and I'm going to read through some of this right here. And I want you to tell me, does this sound like they're pitching an influencer marketing division?
Okay.
Okay? Google's claim, it's always been clear this is influencer marketing, right? Content creation for an influencer marketing department. Let me read through this here real quick. Hi, Juan. We're looking to expand our tribe of passionate tech enthusiasts, the talented people known as hashtag Team Pixel, who share their experience, insights, and advice. We've been impressed by your content and would love to have you join the Team Pixel family. As a member of Team Pixel, you get sneak peeks of new Google products and access to special events in your city. We'll also keep you updated on other opportunities that might interest you. Just let us know if you have any questions. Now, looking back in hindsight and knowing the work that this agency has done in the past, because this is the agency that also did a lot of the influencer work on Windows Phone back in the
Okay.
day,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe I could have read between the lines. But passionate tech enthusiasts who share their expertise, insights, and advice. At what point was I supposed to think, oh, this is an influencer marketing department? Because it sounds to me like they're asking for tech reviewers. It sounds to me that the talented people known as hashtag Team Pixel are tech enthusiasts who share their expertise. This is how it was presented to me.
Well, because
This is how
this
it
is
was
who you
pitched
are,
to
and
me.
this is exactly how you would approach a tech content creator, a tech reviewer. You're not going to approach an influencer, or again, I mean, so 2019 is roughly, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was also the year we had one of our first meetups with Team Pixel at the YouTube
Yep.
space before they closed that guy down. If you
Yep.
remember, we had the whole
Yeah.
team was there, and I don't remember influencers there at that event. Like
No.
I
So
remember
was that
creators.
the
It was all tech
was that
creators.
the was that the lighting?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where we
Yeah.
sat down
So.
there, I got there just from a trip. I remember because I was talking to you
Mm-hmm.
about like, oh, I'm so tired. I just landed. I'm like, I'm getting there, and I
Yeah.
was like, but it was a good show. Like, I mean, I remember even going up there. We were chit chatting. It was a fun. Actually, I was coming from a Huawei event. That's what it was. Because I remember we were
Ah.
talking about
Yeah.
the Huawei, and then I had the Pixel. I forgot which Pixel I had on me, but the that was the year we had that. It was one of the very few ones we actually had before we started, before the change started. I'll say that
Yeah.
before the tip of content or tech
We're
creator.
we're we're we're
Yeah,
we're, we're getting to
we're
that. But
getting
yeah,
there. So
that first I want to spell that out. The first Team Pixel events that I remember going to
yeah.
were really technical events. They
Hmm.
were focused on how to improve review content. We did an
Lighting.
entire
Yeah.
lighting workshop.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Lighting,
we
composition,
were
everything.
we were in talks. I was going to they were talking about paying me to host a microphone clinic.
Yeah.
So for
That makes
your
sense.
audio, the different types of ways that you can record audio for your videos. This was, again, really techy,
Hmm.
very technical,
Yeah.
and our first meetups were at the YouTube space to work to share and collaborate on other ways that you could improve the quality, the technical quality of your content.
Exactly.
None of this was ever presented in those early days as, well, what we're doing here is marketing.
Yeah.
Now, it's very clear there is this kind of unspoken back and forth. What they're hoping is you enjoy the event so much that you share some photos. And I think we
Oh,
both
absolutely.
shared like a photo of the event. If you go back to our
I,
Instagrams in like
I
2019, you'll probably find a
it goes
photo of
without.
me.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. No, we
Yeah.
don't want to make it sound like we're blind to the concept of, companies put these events together to try to spread the word, to try to share content, to allow people to enjoy their time and potentially talk about it. The same thing happens across any kind of company, be it media or non-media. I want to be very clear
Hmm.
that yes, if media gets invited to an event and then this journalist, this person that is in that media group decides to tweet about something on their personal account, that's because that's what they want to do. Is that something that the company is hoping for? Absolutely. It is absolutely
Yeah.
part of the expectations. Is it verbalized? Is it specifically said in a specific thing? You need to post positive things from that? No. It is
No.
it is something based on they hoping for it, and they try their best to make the experience pleasant enough, informative enough, and to meet the expectations of the person going, be it media
And
or
and
influencer
and
or creator.
that's
Yeah.
important too because
Yeah.
I have almost 5 years of emails
Hmm.
where the bottom caption on every email is that you're under no obligation to create any content, but if you do, please, I forget exactly the wording, but it changes from email to email. And if I need to do a master cut of screenshotting every single one, I'll probably put it on the Patreon because that's a lot of work.
Yeah. I'm with you.
But where if you do make content, any content, or review the device, please adhere to FTC guidelines.
And yeah,
So
and it
after
makes
a
perfect sense.
point
Yeah.
from 2020 on, as the scope of Team Pixel started expanding, I wrote up a sort of a clearing the air blog post while I was still really upset over on Patreon, and my
Yeah.
previous experiences with this PR agency were similar. With Windows Phone back in the Nokia days, it started out with hardcore nerds, just like the techiest of techie geeks. And then after a point, it kind of opened up as it started building more momentum, and they started really going after lifestyle content creators. And especially at the time, they were crazy ravenous to get beauty vloggers on board. And that was like the shift that we experienced in the past, where we'd go to these media events and I
Hmm.
was there as a reviewer because that was my relationship with this PR agency. And then I'd be sat down at a table full of beauty vloggers and they'd be like, oh, we just think it's so fun to mix up and have people collab. And it's a bummer because we don't know what to do with each other. A beauty vlogger
Well, we
doesn't
would, yeah.
have anything to do with me and
It's
vice versa. And it would be
the
really, really
fan base.
awkward.
Yeah, the fan base don't. I'm not saying they'll never mix. It just doesn't fit. It's not
There
a.
very little Venn diagram
They're
overlap.
very,
It's
very,
very
very small
separate.
number of each. No, I'm with you. And I
So
saw that.
coming
I
in
saw that shift happen in front of our eyes. We were there.
2020 on,
Yeah.
Team Pixel started following a similar divesting of interests. As Team Pixel kind of grew and built some momentum, that's where we saw other types of content creators being brought on board.
Yeah.
But never in our communication with the PR agency was it ever explicitly said, this is what we're doing. You're now part of an influencer marketing division. And from my perspective, it was the PR agency is trying to reach out to individuals to focus on what they do.
Hmm.
They know I review, they know that's where I have influence, so that's the relationship I have with them. So when this all kicks over, post made by Google event last week, we get that stupid survey. And it's a really long survey that details like all of our social media channels, all of our activity. Would we be interested in other opportunities to work with other brands? Like they're really opening up the language of this and expanding it. And then we get to that last question, which is horrifically stupid. I mean, just
Yeah,
a
I didn't.
really
I
dumb
did
thing to
not
put
see
in
that.
writing.
The Yeah. Sorry. I'm still gonna say that the word blindsided is the word I want to go with because
Yeah,
that's how it felt.
yeah.
It was like, am I reading this correctly? Like, how did we get to that? Like, how did we connect the dots from the where we were and just coming back from the launch event that we were invited again as tech reviewers as we typically would create, and it just again I didn't expect it. The tonality that it came with felt like it was a weighted, you either in, you're either out kind of a dramatic concept, and it just did not like. And the reason why I'll say this for me, the reason why the frustration that you felt from me is we just came back from a 2-day event. Okay. We were there. We got to see the launch event. We sat down. We saw many of our friends, many of our Team Pixel friends, and that we've seen before. We chatted up with them. We hung out. We had dinner twice with them. We had,
Yeah,
we had lunch even. We
for
even
sure.
had a tour together. Nowhere was this conversation being even said. Nowhere was there hinting of any kind of concept of this is the direction we're going with. And then
Yeah.
we come
It
home
came out of nowhere.
and suddenly we need to either be super exclusive or we're out. And I was like,
Hmm.
wow.
So I need to disclose to my audiences, you and I handled this in very different ways. So I would like to give you props that you clicked no. You
Yeah,
were
no,
not going to be
I
exclusive.
just I don't. Okay, so this is where I get very confused. I have always made. Okay, so my way of reviewing devices, my way of creating tech is different than other creators on the platform, and I'll say it very differently. I try to hold the piece of tech to its own merits. I don't try, and I know a lot of people love comparisons and so on, but I don't do comparisons for the purpose factor of that's just not my style. If I'm going to do comparisons, I will point them to you to do a camera comparison. I will point them to somebody to you to do audio. I will point them to XYZ, to Snubs, to
Hmm.
anybody else that's doing the
Wherever
content.
I'm not an expert, I'm
Yeah,
not going to pretend
wherever
I'm an
where I
expert,
well,
for
but
sure.
it's also because I feel like I just don't I don't convey that message correctly For me, it's if the company says this device is going to do X, Y, Z, it's going to shine at this texture. I want to show to the person considering this device, this is what the device can do. If it
Hmm.
can deliver on what was promised, then yes. If it does not deliver and it's going to come down later on, also be full disclosure, explain what it is. And I've never preferred one over the other. I will verbally, when you and I are chatting and so on, I will say flat out, I prefer that the X100 Pro's camera because that's the style
For
of
sure.
cameras I prefer.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna put another device down just because that device is not an X100 Pro
Yeah, both.
Vivo.
The reason why we work so well together is I kind of feel we come at it from different ways,
Yeah,
obviously, but I
no, no,
feel we both try to approach the conversation from what is the right tool for the right job,
yeah.
and there is no wrong phone. It's just can
No,
you
I've
find an audience
is it
that
the right
fits
fit for
that
you?
phone?
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's absolutely at the end of the day, it's
So
personal.
so I need to disclose to my audiences that at the end of all of this, I'm kind of frustrated. We were at the Made by Google event, and I don't begrudge the media Google handled content creators who were all opening up their Pixel 9s and showing them off on social media, but they had nothing for Team Pixel.
No.
And there was this funny moment as the Team Pixel PR people were addressing device seating, where they had gotten a lot of questions like, would we be getting devices at the event? They had a whole kiosk set up for device pickup. Is that for us? Are we going to be getting to go hands on with this? And the PR lady, I'm not. This isn't an exact quote. I'm not getting this exactly right word for word because I wasn't shooting video of it. But she's addressing it. And she's trying to calm. Don't worry, we will be sending out devices. But guys, they're under embargo. So what could you do with them anyway? What could you do with a device under embargo? I mean, you can't even do anything with it. So don't worry, guys. I mean, you'll get them, but everyone else is going to get them ahead of you. As if, like, even an influencer wouldn't want to have a bunch of selfies ready to go from the awesome cameras on the Pixel 9 when
Yep.
the embargo lifts and they could share that.
Yeah,
But
it
again,
doesn't
you
have to be
see all of
reviews.
these
It doesn't have to be, yeah, exactly. No.
and you see all these media outlets so happy to show you we're not Team Pixel, and look at us unboxing our Pixel 9s and our first impressions because they got exclusivity. And that's where the money is. The
Yep.
money is, did you get early access? Because as soon as these devices start shipping out pre-order, then the interest in that plummets because people are really getting the phone. They're not searching for information on the phone on platforms like YouTube.
Yeah.
So the people who have the most vested interest in keeping their relationship with Google are the ones who financially benefit the most. So Google works directly with media. Those videos make so much more money
Well,
than
and
anything TK and I will ever produce on the
also,
Pixels.
Google was very quick to respond to the media side to let them know and assure them that everything is okay on their side. That was
Yep.
the other part that I was feeling like it took them days to get back to us. Like the thing dropped, the conversations were going, things were said. Nobody's standing up for us to defend us on our side, especially not the like the entity that put us in this position. In I mean, I'm not going to say inadvertently, it was intentional because that's, I mean, when you put something like that, expecting that it wouldn't come out, and I didn't personally leak it. It was somebody else posted it
Yeah.
online.
I
But
didn't leak it either.
the conversation that I felt like it's like I woke up with I don't I'm just so I just feel betrayed. I feel betrayed by the entity that I put my trust in. Understanding the complexity of the relationship, understanding that how weirdly gray line they want to categorize me, whatever. But for some reason or another, I was categorized in the Team Pixel team, and I felt like I had a good relationship. And I will be very honest with everybody and say, if I wasn't a fan of the product I'm reviewing, I don't make a video for it.
Yeah.
It is by no means that because I got the free unit or because they
Mhm.
sent me a device that you're getting a true
I'm so
electric project.
overwhelmed getting my hands on a phone that I could have
It
bought for
is
myself.
absolutely not the case. I feel like the people that have followed me, the
So,
people that know me know that true. And I did
yeah,
not want to go up online and start saying that because I felt like it's a one-sided conversation. All the media outlets are covering it from one angle and
for
we're
sure.
on the opposite.
And we've been positioned there and categorized in ways that we would not categorize
Yeah,
ourselves. So
without even an
I
input from us. This is the weird thing. We
no.
were categorized, spoken for, commented on, and given direction, and we're like, "What?"
Yeah.
When did this become
So
this?
I need to make it clear. I got to that last question. I posted this on Patreon, and there's a much longer write up about this entire my side of this entire situation. But we were promised a device, so like an idiot, I didn't pre-order, and I really should have. I mean, I was kicking myself after the event, like, I really should have jumped on a pre-order. I don't know what device they're going to seed out. I really wanted to spend time with this phone, and maybe just going with a larger storage configuration would make it easier to use.
I put
But you know
and
what
I'll
they
yeah.
said? But hold on, they said they were going to send one. Cool, we're good. And I got back. I got home from the event. I slept. I woke up the next day. Ooh, a surprise! Fill out this form, and this is a survey. You're filling out a survey. And we get to the last question of that survey, and it's, do you pledge your loyalty to Team Pixel? And now, if I try to put in a pre-order for a Pixel, it won't arrive until the end of September.
Yeah.
At least the one that I would have spent my own money on.
Yeah.
So I'm mad, and there's no way around this. If I'm going to cover Pixel at all, the only window I have is in that decaying peak of search interest. And if I'm going to spend $1,000 plus on a phone, there's no way I can start my reviewing at the end of September just in time for iPhones, right? There is no point in spending $1,000. So I get to this last question, and this isn't a contract. It's not an NDA. There's no legal authority. They can't make me do anything. So I clicked yes. I said, F it. None of this matters. And if this kicks me off of Team Pixel because of the style of content and the style of reviewing that I do, I'm fine if they walk away from me. But they promised me a device. Now I'm way behind on trying to generate coverage, and I'm protected by the FTC. So even if I were under contract and getting paid, this is an important aspect that I think a lot of content creators miss. No one can make you say something that you don't want to say. Per FTC guidelines, if you are paid to talk about a product and thought it was terrible, you can't say it's terrific. That's a direct quote from the FTC page on influencer guidelines. So F Team Pixel, I want the phone. We're going to try and move forward with this. And in hindsight, I wish I had just said no, because I kind of knew this was going to blow up. I kind of knew this was going to be a real bad look if and when this survey leaked.
For me, when I got it, I was so confused. I sent an email asking for a clarification as to what do you mean by this statement? What does I'm not going to say I didn't understand it. I'm saying I'm confused as to where it came from, as to why is the program shifting gears and going in this direction.
Yeah,
and
I would like to engage in some.
It's like, who would accept this?
Yeah,
who?
Well. I did. I did because it's completely unenforced. No. I want to point this. I want to point this out though, because it's completely unenforceable, and if you know what your rights are,
it's a survey. It's a questionnaire.
It means nothing.
Yeah,
and it's worded in exactly the worst way for them to get in hot water with the FTC, and I'm sure it's been submitted to the FTC. So the situation was one where. And again, Hassam is putting out some. There were a lot of people, and especially on my private Discord, that were trying to be very helpful. It is, if I'm going to spend gadget budget money, where a lot of that is actually generated from my patrons, it's not, I'll just buy any Pixel. It's, I want to make sure I'm buying the Pixel that I think best represents what I would do with the device and how best I would use it. And those criteria, those categories, if I tried to put in my pre-order before the day that the survey came out, the shipping estimate was like end of September. So no guarantee I'd get it in the next couple weeks. Of course, I could scout out and drive around town and waste even more time and effort and energy and try and find a Best Buy that maybe has a config that I would want to buy. I can't burn that time. You know what it's like driving around to Best Buys in Southern California when you live out in the burbs? That's hours in the car.
Of Fry's Electronics, we are much more limited in number of retail stores, specifically
to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, like in my area, in my entire area in the valley that I live in, we have one. And for me to find another one, it's at least a 30 to 45-minute drive. So it's I'm totally with you. No, it absolutely should not have gone to that level. My pre-order, so I'll be very frank. I put in my pre-order purely because of some kind of weird thing in the back of my mind was like, I don't think we're gonna get it. Like, I'll be frank. I was
I,
with you when they made the statement,
yeah.
and we went on and we went the event and we came back, and as the time was going on and before we left, we were coming back for the trip. I something in the back of my mind was like, you know what? It's just I don't think it's going to happen. I think something is changing, and I don't know what it is. But for the sake, for the pure weirdness thing, I'm just going to put in an order,
Hmm.
and I placed an order for, and now also the other thing, I'll be very frank. Now knowing the way things are going, I'm kicking myself for not putting in an order for a higher storage device. I went with the 256
Yeah.
as opposed to the 128, but like knowing that I like out of just a total blue committed my own pocket money for that, and and I saw JoJo's kind of commenting as well. Yeah, we are going to get to the development that happened after the
Hmm.
the whole Team Pixel thing kind of went because the statements that we got from them came a day later, not the day where all the
Yeah.
media were being reached out to and all the media was going on and articles were being written. No, it was a day
Yeah.
later. And it was, yes, in a specific manner, they retracted that, but the survey was never reopened. It's
Nope.
not like, hey, by the way, not a problem. We're going to fix the wording. We took out all of that. We're sorry about that. And please resubmit. It was just, they said that they took it out, but all of the surveys
Hmm.
were filled already. So you took it out.
Right.
I don't have my survey. I can't resubmit. I can't change my answer. It doesn't change anything. I'm still in the same limbo I was in a day before, except I'm just getting an apology letter. So again, like I'm not I do not like to be part of drama. I don't like to create drama. That is a specific thing I purposely don't like to be part of, because at the end of the day, it overshadows what you do. And I don't want
Right.
to I don't want to have to start a video by making an epilogue of explaining my history of things with Pixel before I review it or start even talking about a
Yep.
device, because whoever sees my videos, because I was part of Team Pixel, I don't know what my status is.
Well, and this erodes the credibility of
Yeah,
every
and
video
and
we've
it,
made
it
in the
shouldn't be
past.
part of the narrative. We shouldn't
Right.
get to the point how I received my unit, being Team Pixel or media, doesn't matter. The media received their unit from Google. They're reviewing it because they got it from Google. Because if they didn't, then they would have been on the back end with us at the same time. So that is
Hmm.
part of the relationship they have. So you can't be on one side pointing fingers at the other side. We're just different sides of the same coin. It's still a Google coin. We're just on different sides. At one point, we used to have the ability of having our devices early enough, and we were posting our content at the same time as media. Something changed over with Team Pixel, with creators and media and so on, and now we no longer get our devices early. We literally get them either on or the day after. And if it is by magical existence that we get it a day early, we're still not able to post anything. So there would be no
Yep.
competition with the other side. Peace.
Yep.
I understand. You've staged us to that level again.
Whenever major channels start complaining about the ethics of review seating, device seating, and disclosures and things, it always seems to coincide, or I shouldn't say always, it regularly seems to coincide with them not getting a special exclusivity. Massive YouTube channels
Yeah.
seem to play ball just fine when they get something unique that will draw enormous traffic just to their channel with little competition. As soon as they face regular competition or they're in the same timeline as smaller proper reviewers and smaller influencers, all of a sudden they have a problem with the ethics of device seating.
And
So
yeah,
take that for however you're going to
no, no,
feel
no.
it. I do want to
That's a
mention just real
conversation.
quickly,
Yeah,
because that kind of dovetails with your point here. We also had kind of an extended conversation with our friend Trisha Hirschberger.
yeah. No, no.
And
That was one of the
Trisha
positives of going on the trip. We got a chance to me and Trish
got to
hang
hang out
out.
with Trish.
Exactly.
So she gave us permission to quote her in a text thread and on an email. Trisha said, I mean, what I would add to this discussion is that Samsung does the same exact thing. They just do a way better job of separating who is in what group. No tech people are in Samsung influencer program, and the influencer program requires full exclusivity. So if you're a Samsung influencer, you are in a very clearly defined bucket. And
Hmm.
if you're a reviewer who gets devices seated to them, you're in a completely different bucket. And that's where Google is absolutely running into these issues, because Trisha also sent an email, which I'm going to read through some of this, but we don't have clear disclosures on what this language means. Who is a content creator versus who is a reporter? So this is from the White House creator economy that just happened last week. Quote, what is a journalist? Even the White House struggles to define journalist versus creator. I shared dinner after the conference with a number of individuals. It was an impromptu newsletter creator support group. We write great ones and you should subscribe to them.
Mhm.
But one of us was relegated to the balcony and forbidden from mingling with the attendees, branded with a scarlet J. Sure, Kaya works for a powerful news organization, The Information, and she used to be at CNN. But the many of the other attendees worked in journalism previously too, including me at PC Magazine and Tech TV as a reporter, CNBC and Bloomberg. But we were creators. So even at the highest levels of government, they struggle to define who is a reporter and allowed special access to politicians, and who's just a content creator who can sit at a dining room table with the movers and shakers in Washington. Google has fallen into this trap hard, and they have tragically misstepped and destroyed the credibility of Team Pixel.
Yeah.
Team Pixel did not start the way they said it did. Team Pixel was never represented to us as what they say Team Pixel has always represented. Their entire timeline is not factually correct, and they're throwing people like us under the bus to clear up this mistake. And I don't like that feeling. I don't like, knowing, I mean, because you kind of know where you are.
Mhm.
You kind of know what your position is, but at least we had the nice face on it. Like they're going to call us influencers, but you influence through your tech reviews. So you're
Yeah.
a tech reviewer influencer. And now all that's mask off. And they're telling everyone exactly how they feel about the people in their own program.
It's just, to me, I mean, again, even with backing out the verbiage on it, it just yeah, it just was badly done. I don't know how to. I mean, again, I don't want to keep repeating it, but it's badly done, and whatever communication, miscommunication, and again, I'm trying to, not that I'm trying to play devil's advocate on this one, but the fact that being that there is a middleman in the middle person in the middle of this conversation, being the PR
Mm-hmm.
company, we don't know how the direction came from Google to them to us, but we're explaining our point of view as it was pertaining to the conversation, and with the receipts that we're talking about, essential
Yeah.
to the conversation, how we were introduced, how we were brought on, how our communication's always been. It was always, and I'll say that there are some creators, or sorry, some tech reviewers that are part of the team. I don't know if they're still or whatever. Again, status that is beyond my point. That have made critical reviews of the devices that were sent and still received and still being seated devices ahead of time or on time with Team Pixel. Team Pixel was never this this basically a black or white. You're either for or against this device. You could
Right.
be critical, but they wanted us to
My
be honest. They wanted us
my
to truly
my
share what we thought.
my
And
wild speculation, and I have no evidence. I'm just because again, I'm kind of reading the tea leaves, and like I said, this isn't my first go around with this PR agency. Everyone wants an Apple-like cult.
oh,
Every
yeah,
manufacturer wants a
yeah,
cult of followers like Apple that are ride or die, that will never leave the brand, that live their entire lives as that team, right? That's why we use
absolutely.
these little wacky hash. It started ironically. You're like,
Mhm.
are you Team One Plus? Are you Team Pixel? Oh my gosh, team. I can totally foresee, or I can totally imagine, let's say
Yeah.
imagine, that's a better word, because it's feelings, I don't have evidence. I can totally imagine a scenario where Google, especially after taking a huge public hit on their antitrust case, says, we really need to rally the troops. We really need all of our bestest fans and followers to support and get the positive messages out. And all of the leaks and rumors on Pixel 9 are kind of tepid. Like this is going to be a year that you could maybe skip the Pixel 9, right? There's not a lot of specific device excitement. So we're going to come down on our PR agencies, and this one is the one that does all the influencer work. Let's really make sure we're sending out devices to the people who support us the most. Let's really try and get that support, grassroots. And what they ended up doing was tragically stupid and was some of the worst astroturfing I've ever seen. I could totally imagine a scenario like that. If we're trying to ascribe motive to how an occurrence like this happens, I could believe it. I could see that chain of events happening. And this also gives Google the plausible deniability and the separation.
Yeah.
We didn't put this out here because at Google, we only handle the media and give them the most profitable access because that's really what needs to be addressed. The FTC is coming down on platforms, but it's really coming down on content creators. What the FTC needs to start doing is looking at the business practice that generates the most revenue. And it's Apple's business model. It's how Apple maintains their separation and their plausible deniability. They don't pay for positive coverage. They don't pay for influencers or media or reporters or anything. They're never directly contributing to the financial success, but they keep a list of people that they give special access to. And if you have special access at Apple, your content does a lot more traffic. And there's the financial motivation.
Mm-hmm.
You will always say nice things about Apple because you like making the money. The Apple money is the best money. So you're always free to share your real honest opinion about an Apple product. But if you do, we'll probably just work with other content creators instead. See also John Rettinger, one of the biggest Apple fanboys out there, getting blacklisted by Apple because he wouldn't toe the line on making content about one of their phones having issues. So they just choose not to work with John. And now John has to play this game of Real Vision Pro review from a blacklisted tech reviewer because he doesn't get the special access anymore. Or actually, for a while, he hasn't been getting special access
Yeah, no,
from
no,
Apple.
and
So Google is trying to do
perfect
the same
example.
thing.
Yeah,
They want the same cult. They want the same foregone conclusion core group of always positive coverage. But they don't have the economic incentives to make that work, and they can't play that game like Apple can. So the FTC can come and squash individual YouTube channels all they want until they find a way to interrupt that financial incentive where Apple can keep their thumb on influencers, can keep their boot heel on the necks of media and journalists and reporters, then none of this is going to change. And you're going to see Samsung try to copy it, and you're going to see Google try to copy it, and there's probably going to be another hashtag Team Moto or something at some point, because every executive at one of these companies thinks it's the hot idea that we're just going to be so overwhelmed by getting a free phone that we'll just be so grateful and we'll say anything they want them to say. And that's never been the case with Team Pixel until this stupid survey went out where they asked us to pledge a loyalty oath. So the entire timeline, as they've described it, is totally incorrect. And really, we won't see substantial change in this influencer economy, in this YouTube platform economy, until we get the target right. And the target needs to be massive, huge trillion-dollar corporations, not YouTube channels with 150,000 subscribers. We can't work bottom up
yeah,
on this
and
one. It
just
has
for
to be
reference,
top down.
the survey is still closed. So there is, even though they've reacted it or they
You
fixed
looked
it.
it up again.
Well, no, because when Jojo made a comment on as say, stating it, and it's true, they did. They verbally meaning they emailed a response saying we've corrected it. But the problem is most of us, okay, so the deadline on the original survey was last Thursday. So everybody
Mhm.
had to have submitted everything already. Otherwise, the survey was going to go out. They respond to us on Friday saying they changed the language with a survey that's already expired. So therefore, there's no way for us to kind of see it in the survey or change our statement or whatever. And so to me, it's just right now being and I'll be honest, I asked for a phone call. I asked for a conversation over the phone to understand what's going on because this email back and forth and we wait and all of that to just the whole prolonging of the process of what's going on. And I haven't received one yet. So, but
Yeah.
the look, um, I I always understood. I'm not gonna. Okay, so I always understood that the Team Pixel structure was changing and that Google's
Mhm.
focus was shifting. That was clear. We saw it. I mean, we've commented about this thing year over year over year. Every time we go, we see more and more influencers, more and more lifestyle creators, and less tech
Well,
creators.
and
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 again,
and we
we knew
understood.
it was broadening,
No,
right? We knew
absolutely.
that the program was
But
broadening.
we also appreciated the fact that they kept us in the conversation, that it wasn't just all on one side and we'll just dump everybody else. They realized that they had a core they had a core team of reviewers, of tech reviewers, and it wasn't just you, me, and Trish. I mean, we're talking about how-to men. We're talking about, I mean, even content creators that have been there for some time. And Brandon Lee used to be there at some point as well. And I think we had other people that create content in there, but tech reviews. So to me, Snubs was there last year. Actually, Snubs was at the event last year, which we weren't. And this year we ended up going. So they're changing. But the answer to me was, the reason why I never had a concern with this is because they always valued our honest opinion. They always valued our honest point of view on how tech is reviewed. And I felt that's why they kept us in the program. And that's why I always participated into it. I don't appreciate being told that I have to be either positive or exclude, or if it is even, if it, I think the way they worded it was, if it seemed that I preferred another device over the Pixel, that our relationship would be over. That is just like, where did this,
and
like,
it's
I don't
horrifically
understand.
stupid. You don't put something like that in writing.
Well, but not only
again,
if this
now I
was a
feel that
contract,
should be
no.
yeah.
So into the point of what the media is saying, and I do want to, I'm not going to say that I'm totally blasting on that. I want to be very fair to both concepts. I understand what they're saying. Had this been a collaboration, had this been a paid gig specifically, obviously they can say whatever they want. And to Trisha's point of view, absolutely. I have worked with companies in the past where they've said, well, you can't review other, and I'm not going to try to say name of companies, but I've reviewed, let's say, a smart vacuum cleaner. And in their video, they say within 10 days before and after you post your content, you cannot post another video with a competitor. That was one of their requirements.
Right.
But it's a paid gig.
Yeah.
It's
different. And a different set of disclosures.
Absolutely.
And
there's totally different things in there. And to specify that conversation over a smartphone in the middle of, busy season of devices coming out and all of that, to me that's where I felt weird that it went against what the program was. It is not that I don't understand what they're trying to do, and that if they were trying to go in that direction, but coming from a 2-day trip with them, not one word of any direction, change, approach, new ideas. We're throwing things. We were trying different things here. None of that.
Yeah.
And that is the end of that survey. That's why I got heated, and seeing other creators or other content or media start talking about, like, I will never be part of Team Pixel. Dude, I don't think it wasn't a choice for me to be part of Team Pixel at the beginning. It was an email saying, would you like to join? I said yes. And I know I just said not a choice. I meant to say not being able to be media or non-media.
Right.
That was the direction that was given to me. And
it was never explained to us that this put us in a bucket.
Right? Absolutely. So that was the choice that I was, because now every time in the past where I've reached out to Google, they have me in this. They know I'm part of Team Pixel. They will not.
Oh, we can't talk to you. You're an influencer.
You're on the other.
We only talk to media.
Side. So
it's to some of the comments, and I'm sorry, I know we've been getting amazing comments here on this thread, and I don't want to. I mean, I've been trying to highlight a few just of the funny ones and stuff, but not that I'm not addressing your questions or comments here. We're trying to read through and then also sort of finish up our spiel here. I genuinely don't know what to do. So the fun of this Pixel event, I got to meet JoJo, the techie, for the first time.
Yeah, I know. I was really excited to make sure that
Jason,
you guys. Yeah.
I've never been in the same room at the same time as Jason from Android Faithful, formerly All About Android.
Like, the dude is tall.
So in my photo, I am ballet on point, just to be a little shorter than Jason. He is incredibly tall.
Cool dude.
But for all the fun of the event that we had, being a part of the Made by Google event, hashtag travel and accommodation provided by Thousand Heads on behalf of Google.
Yep. Same.
This has put us in a very delicate position, because the credibility of all of our previous videos is now being called into question. Mm-hmm. I know I've got a lot of people here that are supporting TK's channel and supporting my channel. I get that. But maybe 1% of my video traffic now comes from my subscribers. That's where YouTube has put me. So anyone coming to my channel is likely not a subscriber and hasn't been a part of this journey or this story. And they're going to see Team Pixel on previous content. And if I go in and I say anything nice about a Pixel now, it's immediately suspect. If I go in and I just start slamming Pixels, it's just going to look like, oh, sour grapes. He's not getting the free stuff that he thinks he deserves. It puts us in an incredibly difficult position to share these stories, continue these conversations and dig into the review content that we were going to produce always as part of our plan for how we create content.
Exactly.
So I think moving forward, and someone else mentioned this too, and like Trisha's comment about Samsung, this was an incredibly stupid way to structure their device seeding program. And moving forward, I can't see how I'll have any participation with Team Pixel for devices. I genuinely don't know what I'm going to do about Pixel 9. They might send it to me. I'm under no obligation to cover it. If I say anything about it publicly, it's going to be, oh, well, you're Team Pixel. You're just a shell. So I just don't want the hate, right? I can't sit there and weed comments on YouTube 24/7, 365. So moving forward, and I'm going to send them a message, I really feel Team Pixel just needs to be an events team. Team Pixel just needs to be, hey, we're going to do a meetup for a soccer game, or hey, we're going to do an NBA thing and we sponsor the NBA. Cool. And I'll show up and we'll have a good time and I'll watch a fun sporting event and I'll put a photo on Instagram. But as a device seeding program, Google needs to get their house in order. And I think the only way to restore any credibility to, I got a device so I could provide this review, is for Google to take the reins on that and do it in-house. Because now it's an issue of credibility. Now it's, you've destroyed the trust of the content that we're producing, and there's no way for us to fix that. Google came out with a statement that was then mirrored by this PR agency, and that statement was not true and throws guys like us under the bus. And I can only tell the people that are going to catch the stream or listen to the audio replay or catch the replay, and maybe that'll get 5 shares across social media. I am not a $1 trillion corporation with much larger megaphones and an entire cottage industry of tech reviewers who are pouncing on this as an opportunity to make themselves look better at our expense. So I can't disseminate the same kind of message. So I'm proper stuck. I genuinely don't know what I'm going to do for this generation of Pixel devices. It's a lose-lose in almost any direction that I can examine.
It is a hard decision to make. I mean, I didn't cancel my order, so I still have my order sitting, and hopefully it will ship. It's just, my concern essentially is, how do I get to cross that line? How do I wait a week? Do I wait a couple of weeks? Do I skip the Pixel 9 Pro? It's a conversation that I'm still kind of debating on. What do I do with this, with the device? So that's my concern. And I think, yeah, you're right. I haven't heard back from them. They haven't clarified anything. I don't even know if there is going to be seating, but my unit hopefully will show up on time, and I'll have to make a statement saying I bought this with my money, and that'll be it, and just move on from there, not hashtag anything. You know, yeah. But it's a tough conversation. It's a weird placement to try to put in caveats onto a video that you're creating content, because
I mean, think of like the disclaimers and disclosures we now need to jump through at the beginning of a video to say, yeah, we're Team Pixel, but these are our honest thoughts, and you believe that from massive YouTube channels that get a humongous economic advantage, but you won't believe that from me. So I guess trust me, bro.
It's gonna be.
I have to put a wall of text at the beginning of every one of my videos to explain the situation, but I'm totally credible, right? And it's immediately he doth protest too much when you try and spell it all out. It's an hour of conversation for us to get to this point, and it still doesn't really settle the issue. It's going to depend on how these organizations get back to us, whether or not they even acknowledge that this has done damage to our credibility. It's done damage to our trust. It's a proper mess, and I feel like Google and the PR agency, that they think they're done, that they think they've handled it, and nothing could be farther from the truth. They are in the middle of this, and it's a complete mess still. And I think they're ready to kind of tap out and let it all blow over. So I'm going to stick around. TK, you got to get going, man, right? You had about an hour?
Yeah. And luckily I had a few extra minutes that kind of gave us enough time to kind of go through and
For sure.
chat about it. But
so
Yeah.
We'll follow up on fun stuff. We are planning on doing a Thursday night stream
Yes.
unless another PR catastrophe dumps something in our laps. But
Hope not.
we'll catch you back. I'm gonna stick around for just another like I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or so. And if
Okay.
there are any specific questions that people would like to address here in the comments, I'd be happy to answer them, especially to explain my stance, which was different than TK's, and I don't feel he should be dragged into my conversation on how I handle this. But TK, thank you so much for joining on this
Absolutely.
conversation. It really helps kind of put all of this stuff in perspective. And everybody check out TK's channel. Lots of really awesome videos, probably some non-Team Pixel stuff that you can check out if you want to stay drama free.
I think that's how it's. I feel like that's the direction we're going. I'm going with. No, no. I mean, it's the only. I think it's like the only the only logical step to move forward, because if we do go with the Team Pixel unit, it just I don't know how
I
to
know,
get
I
to
know,
that.
I know.
Yeah,
Who cares about pixels? I
we'll
have a
come.
laptop with 2 screens on it. What?
Get the fudge out of here. No, I know. But yeah, thank you very much again for letting me join you on the show. I felt like
For sure.
enough time has passed, but yeah, we'll talk. Thank you very much. Hope you guys have a great day.
Hey, take care, bud.
Bye bye.
Okay, so like I said, we'll spend about 10 minutes here. Jojo the Techie already popping up something that I wanna mention. I believe the public will look at the hashtag Team Pixel in a different light now, unless things change. It's easy to put out the first part of this message, which destroys the credibility. Then every generation of conversation after that point is a smaller and smaller and smaller audience who might be interested in that. So with this all blowing up, that's the main damage. It really doesn't matter what Google or the PR agency say after that point. It's reaching a much smaller group of people. And then what TK and I say is reaching an even smaller subset of that smaller audience. So it's a difficult moving target to try and approach what we're talking about, because the people who care probably stopped at just that surface level headline. Yeah, and see, and a lot of people were doing this too. Jojo the Techie says, I used the hashtag even though I'm not officially on the team, only because I consider myself a fan of Pixels, which is exactly the creation of this hashtag. Remember, Team Pixel had 35,000 members back in 2017. So that was a really healthy team of Pixel fans. Michael Corcoran say, I can imagine them canceling the program or rebranding it or something. Changing the label is exactly what my concern is. So if they just change the label and they change the hashtag, but they don't address the separation between events, which are like media and content creator events, versus device seeding, then they're immediately going to run into the same issue. But if they change the hashtag, then maybe they can actually create this influencer Samsung style AstroTurf marketing, right? They can properly silo, we're giving you a device because you will be exclusive, and that's explained to you right up front. Because that's not how I joined this program. Nick Gay. I never knew there was a difference between Team Pixel and media like MKBHD. Yes, the difference between Team Pixel and MKBHD is massive YouTube channels also get devices under embargo, but they get a much better window of exclusivity. But massive channels tend to get squirrely when they get too much competition at a launch. And that's, again, we see a pattern of behavior where, oh, Microsoft made us do 2 embargoes. Isn't that so sus, kids? And they start to have issues with ethics and credibility when that situation doesn't work to enable their profits. And it's a real bad look when you've got a number of content creators out there and a number of reviewers out there. Many of them I've worked with and I've been back and forth with and had private conversations with that are now trying to make it sound like it's so unseemly to be an influencer. But companies are flying these individuals all over the world, handling their travel and accommodations, seeding them early embargo devices that they get exclusive access to before even medium-sized channels like mine. And how is that any different? That's not different. And they get a significantly better financial return on their work. So all of these companies want me to turn out big numbers They want to see my videos go high, and they want to see me bring in new audience, and they want me to share this message, but they're putting channels like mine on the back burner. So by the time I get the device and I can start talking about it, you've already had 2 weeks of content from these so-called concerned real reviewers who wouldn't be influencers or anything like that. There is no clearly defined separation. As we talked about from Trisha's email, even at the highest levels of government, we don't have a good dividing line. And I think it's a really tragically bitter, narcissistic, ugly look if you've got reviewers going after those influencers. If you see posts from people like, "Ugh, you just want to pose with a phone, I guess." What are you doing? Under embargo, you're posing with the phone. If you're at the event, and some of those guys were sitting in the, so we had these different sections at the Made by Google event. And like there were different placards on the seats. And one of the guys who has been pretty vocal about how he's different than Team Pixel was seated in the same row of talent partners. But he was being handled by a different entity than the Team Pixel PR. So he was special. But he was still talent partners. You're an influencer, bro. It's the same thing. You're sitting in the same section as me. You're a part of the same audience as me. So let's not pretend that you're somehow special. But at the same time, you're ready to talk mad trash about people who have a different kind of relationship with their audience. And that's pretty messed up because it forces people like me, like, oh, I'm a reviewer, I'm not one of those influencers, as if that's something dirty or unseemly. And that's not the point we're trying to make. I'm trying to make the point that my content does not hinge on a discussion of lifestyle and corporation. Like my assessment of products is very different than a lifestyle vlogger would approach the same product. And that's really where you should be getting different opinions on different devices, is merging all of that information and saying, oh, well, Juan talks about like audiophile stuff and like camera specifications. But really, I need to see who is going to talk about better selfie cameras because Juan never shoots anything on the selfie camera of his phones. You wouldn't trust my assessment of a selfie camera because I don't use them. So that's the kind of thing that we're trying to delineate here. And it's really dirty if someone working at a publication is like, huh, influencers, when their site is full of affiliate marketing. Homie, scroll down. Michael Corcoran. Right. Usually these companies are smart enough to keep the quid pro quo out of the writing. And I don't even think it's necessarily a problem. Because again, like what Trisha was saying, Samsung has this hard delineation between sort of their influencer collaborators and their media, their proper journalists, whatever they consider to be that divide. Excuse me. As long as it's clear, as long as the disclosures are upfront, I would not have signed on to Team Pixel if it had been presented to me as an influencer marketing. But again, I would like to go back. I have to find that email again. We're looking for a tribe. We're looking to expand our tribe of passionate tech enthusiasts, the talented people known as hashtag Team Pixel, who share their expertise, insights, and advice. And that was the pitch to me. So this whole thing that it's always been marketing is total crap. And how it was presented to me was, you seem to have a technical expertise and you're a tech enthusiast. So that's why we would like to introduce you to this program. They changed what the program was. If the program had been presented to me as this is going to be an influencer exclusivity thing, I would have said no thank you. I don't have a problem with someone saying yes, as long as there are clear disclosures on how that relationship works. That's the gig. Sam, thank you, Juan. Which Pixel device is your favorite this year? Well, can you trust anything that I say? Because I'm just one of those dirty, filthy influencers, right? I mean, any opinion I have is totally suspect, and you can't trust anything that I say. All right, if you're putting me on the spot, we've got Pixel 9, Pixel 9 Pro, Pixel 9 Pro XL, and Pixel 9 Pro Fold. I would probably say the device that I would have been most interested in covering was the Pixel 9 Pro. I want to see the smaller Pixel, that it's got the same camera capabilities as the larger Pixel, but I'd really be interested in testing the improved modem capabilities on the phone with the smaller battery. So had I been free of all of this Team Pixel nonsense, and if I'd been given a choice, I would have opted for the Pixel 9 Pro smaller phone. That's the one that I really wanted to review, that I really wanted to test drive, especially in light of a lot of the people that I've just met personally, like face to face, family and friends who are just tired of the bestest phones always being the biggest phones. I think that's another reason why iPhone Pro sells as well as it does, is because just to get the smaller form factor, so many other devices gimp the more obvious benefits from the larger phone when they go smaller. So that would have been the one. But I genuinely don't know how all this is going to play out. So and again, I might just skip Pixel 9 entirely because this has become such a mess. Let's see, from Quebecer, Q3 Becker. Sorry if that was answered before, but do you believe Google was aware of these changes beforehand, or did the PR go rogue? So we did kind of loosely pop in on this. I didn't like go in depth, but I did have a wild speculation. I have no evidence. I have no insight as to how all of this goes down. But my feeling, having done work with this PR agency in the past on other manufacturers' products, to me, you keep a PR agency around so the company has a buffer. They have plausible deniability. We asked them to do something for us, and then they went and did something, and we didn't expect it to turn out that way. But at the same time, the massive corporation has expectations on what the PR agency will deliver. And it's my hypothesis, with no evidence, completely unprovable, that Google approached their PR and said, hey man, we're taking a beating in the press. We just lost this massive antitrust case. Reactions to the Pixel 9 have been kind of tepid. We really want to circle the wagons. We really want a groundswell of support. We need our bestest Pixel fans to get out there and spread the gospel. And the PR agency, with that pressure on them, turned around and thought the best way to do that would be to have people sign a loyalty oath, to pledge an oath of exclusivity to Pixel, which is complete and total separation from what has ever been in a Team Pixel document or disclosure before. Every single other device message that I've gotten from Team Pixel has, if you choose to create content on this phone, make sure you adhere to FTC guidelines. We want your unbiased and fair opinions. It has always been hands off. That's where I feel this change happened. I have no evidence that that's what went down, but to me it feels like that's the way that this situation played too. Al Sabakli, MK, quote, so I've had this phone for about a week now, end quote, HD. Jojo the Techie, it's so ugly, right? That damn dirty influencer attitude. Because again, if you're a singular entity on a YouTube channel, congratulations, man. You're exactly the same. You're not different just because you have a larger audience. It is the same vibe. That's how all of these companies are blurring the lines between journalism and marketing. And you're a part of the same machine. And anyone who's got kind of any sort of special insight or access to Apple is playing a very similar game, but Apple is way smarter about not putting out anything that can be linked back as evidence to this being the system that's employed. We know the peak of interest is leading up to devices shipping. That is the most profitable window of YouTube and online content creation. And then once real people are getting the pre-orders that they spent money on, the interest in that topic plummets. So companies like Apple and Samsung and Google and everyone else knows that's the window. That's the, we've got them, they'll make the most money in this window. And that's where you can quietly turn the screw. You don't need to say anything, but who you choose to partner with shows, well, that's their group of creators that will play ball with the structure that we've come up with. We know they're going to deliver the messaging that we want to see in that peak window of interest. So coming down on Team Pixel because Google's PR did something horrifically stupid, absolutely correct. It was a horrifically stupid thing for them to do. But the real critical flaw in all of this is these companies know how to game YouTube as a platform. And until we see something that interrupts that kind of business model or that kind of relationship, that the financial incentive is to stay on Apple's good side so that you get the special access and that makes your channel more money, even though Apple isn't paying you, you're not being sponsored, but you have special access, you're making money on that. You're making a lot more money on that than on a channel like mine. Nick Gay. Man, this makes me feel as though Google is just like Samsung or Apple. Oh, wait, they always were. Just, well, let's be fair. Not as good. Not as tactically good as Apple has been in the same situation. Jojo the Techie, LOL. I witnessed Juan taking a selfie with the rear camera. Now tell me, Jojo, I flippin' nailed that shot, didn't I? I set it up, pop, volume rocker. I do not use selfie cameras. I am a photography snob. And why would I take a photo of the lovely Jojo the Techie with the worst camera on my phone? I mean, she needs that good bokeh. She needs that good depth of field. She needs that good color in HDR. That's how you do it, son. That's how you get this done. Do not come to my channel for any assessment on selfie cameras. I genuinely don't know how they work. Oh, Snubs! Snubs! We were talking so much about you in this stream. I'm so glad to see your name pop up. They originally invited me via my tech review YouTube channel email address, and our slogan was literally tech reviews and how-tos. And I need to throw Snubs, again, for an expanded conversation and some of the behind the scenes from a different perspective, working a different kind of relationship with Google and this PR agency. Snubs has shared a lot of great insight on Threads. And I popped into a couple of her chats too. But again, how this works is really fickle. You have no idea if you're still on Team Pixel or if you're not, if you were ever officially part of the program or if they're just happy you used the hashtag. There is no contract. There is no NDA. You agree to an embargo, but you really get devices on embargo. You get them when they ship to everyone else. It is so amorphous. And for someone like Snubs, again, she takes her content very seriously. She's a security specialist, so she's definitely buttoned down in how she organizes her content. She has a whole separate channel for her fun stuff, which I don't even have. I mix my fun stuff with my real review stuff. If you catch her on Threads, you'll get another sort of tier of the insight on how this went wrong from a different perspective. And she wasn't invited to this event. How do you know? How do you plan ahead for that? And if you're a media entity, you know, we're talking about someone who's co-hosted shows with Patrick Norton, right? Tell me that's not legit, old school, foundational tech media. But Google has positioned her in this bucket. That's not how she positions herself. That's not the kind of content that she makes. But you know, she's cute and she's got colorful hair, so she's probably an influencer. So how do you work around that? Because she wasn't at the Made by Google event. Why didn't she get an invite? How do you know when you've transgressed and you're no longer one of the anointed ones, right? So like that happens with Apple. That definitely happens with Samsung. Let me tell you, Samsung PR is extremely punitive in how they handle content creators. And now we're getting a peek behind the curtain on how that works with Google too. I'm way behind on all of this. Michael Corcoran, are you or are you not a member of Team Pixel? Joseph McCarthy. Have you ever approached a Team Pixel conversation? Dave Burns, bend the knee. I'm sorry, I'm catching up on all these, and some of these are really funny. Yeah, Jojo the Techie, I nailed it. That was a good shot. I am very well practiced on taking the rear camera selfies. This is the way that it should be doing. Um, Grounded Tech, we should Google the answers to those questions. Someone on my private Discord started throwing like these kinds of questions into Gemini, and wouldn't you know it, Gemini was very against the the situation that played out. Like, oh no, you should definitely not do that. That would destroy your credibility. And you're like, thanks, Gemini. Maybe next time your PR agency should ask you first if this is a good idea. Oh, it's so good. Oh, people are talking about another massive YouTube channel that went totally sour grapes on whether or not he was invited to the event. I'm not going to weigh in on that. I'm going to point to the general trends that we see. Generally, and this is not a specific always, it happens like this 100% of the time. Don't quote me like that. But generally, when we see big, massive YouTube channels complaining about something and complaining about the ethics of something, I find that it often dovetails with they did not get special treatment and they didn't get special access that would have made them more money with less competition. It plays out that way. I mean, check it. Check back and think about those times where you've seen people, complain about embargoes, but they're happy to sign up for embargoes. If you're really worried about not doing embargoes, then structure your channel more like Hardware Unboxed or Gamers Nexus. I can't afford to buy every single $1,000 plus phone that comes out, and I work with companies on device seeding programs, and I take review units. Most of the time I have to send those review units back. That is how I expand the scope of my reach and my conversation as an entity of one with a YouTube channel that very rarely reaches more than 1% of my subscriber base. That's how we get into this conversation. That's how we stay in this conversation, unless you want us to go and work for massive publications that are laying people off or getting acquired. Like, just look at like the CNET situation that just happened. I don't want to work for a massive publication that now puts journalists under the same umbrella as affiliate marketers. That calls into question the credibility of the site, and it's raking the site's reputation for better affiliate dollars. So when I do a sponsored video, it's not because, oh, they're going to pay me to say what they want me to say. Per FTC guidelines, no one can make me say something I don't want to say. And if I say something like, this device is awesome, but the device is total garbage, then I get in trouble. I can get in trouble with the FTC. The FTC will come down on me like a ton of bricks. So I take sponsorships on products that I really love and I believe in and I think are interesting or funky or kind of funny or something that I can do different. But that budget, the money they give me, that goes into trying to make a nicer video. I'm taking the sponsorship so I can expand what that video might have been instead. I can spend a little more time on it. I can spend a little bit more time writing that script, getting better B-roll, working my shots. If it's something that's kind of outdoorsy, I don't just shoot the whole thing here in my office. I go and do location shoots. Do you know how hard it is in 100-degree weather in Southern California to do location photography of a crate battery? Like, I've got to wheel it out there in the middle of summer and go, hey guys, if you have a power outage, this thing will save your refrigerator. And I'm sweating buckets. I feel like that's worth some additional compensation for my time, but I wouldn't have made that video if I didn't like the battery, right? And if I get money for something and I don't like it, I'm not going to publish a video saying, oh, this thing was awesome. Oh my gosh, I loved it so much. Because that puts me in the worst possible position. So, pretty rough here. And there are going to be probably some extended conversations over on the Patreon. I have some really savvy people over there that contribute to how I kind of stage and work on some of this content. Like, they kind of take their role as shareholders very seriously. because I genuinely don't know what I'm going to do. I really don't know how to handle this or what to make of this or what to do with Pixel 9. And like I said, right now, top of mind, I'm kind of feeling like it's just better to skip Pixel 9. I don't know if Team Pixel's going to send me a device. If they do, I'll take a picture of it and I'll share it on Instagram and I'll say, the folks at Team Pixel sent me this phone. And then I don't know that there will be much in-depth coverage. It really puts me in a difficult spot. If I come out and say, oh my God, this is so much better and it's improved and this new modem and this new radio, it's great, immediately makes it sound like I've been paid to say that. Right? But if I just come out and just slam it, then it's like, oh, well, he's just mad because the Team Pixel thing blew up in his face and now people are going to call him out. So now he has to be negative. And it's like, it really feels like my hands are tied either way. Oh, Bionic Scoop. Location photography in our area alone is not fun. Dude. Because Scoop is in Nevada, and Nevada shares a lot of climate similarities with Southern California. And today is going to be the cool day this week, and I think we're going to hit like 98 degrees. Tomorrow is going to be, I think, over 100. And this isn't even our hot season yet. Like, as the end of August, as we start pushing into September, that's also where we have our like fire warnings start going crazy. I'm expecting yet another like 110, maybe 112. We'll get a week of that where it's just irrationally hot. You have to set your AC at like 85 because you can't keep it running all day. It's got to shut off at some time or you blow out your AC. It's pretty tough. Kapakash, we still want your camera deep dive. So I posted in the Patreon, and I'm not spoiling this, but just on previous conversations, my plan was never going to change. I wanted to do just kind of that initial reactions, like as I get the device, I've got to shoot something on it because I'm a week behind all of the real journalists who get way more money for their content. I was going to do sort of that initial sort of hands-on, just the first look at the phone. I was going to do my by the benchmarks. It's the G4 tensor. It's the newest tensor. There are some structural architectural differences in that silicon. So I wanted to see like, how does this compare against Tensor G3? And how does it compare against MediaTek and a Qualcomm? I think that's a fun showdown to put together. All the bar graphs, my by the benchmarks articles are on Patreon because no one reads them on my public blog and no one watches videos of phone benchmarking anymore. Oh, I mean, they'll still watch speed tests, which mean nothing. Oh, I opened up 10 apps and look at how fast all these apps open. Means nothing. It's the stupidest content, and shame on you if you really watch those videos. Like it's useless time wasting. But I like to do like video editing and rendering. I like to do audio if you do a podcast off your phone. I like to do file compression, like stuff that I think might actually be comparable to real world things that you can do with your phone if you think your phone is a computer. I think a phone is a computer. I was going to do a by the benchmarks, and then I have it here on my desk. I pulled it out of the bookcase behind me. The first comparison that I was planning on showcasing was going to be Pixel 9, again, if I got a Pixel 9 Pro, Pixel 9 Pro against the Xiaomi 12S Ultra, to show how the United States is now roughly 3 years behind the rest of the world. The Xiaomi 12S Ultra is almost a 3-year-old phone, and it's got a better main camera sensor than what's going in the Pixel 9. It's got a comparable telephoto to what's going in the Pixel 9, and the Pixel 9 is just now catching up to the ultra wide that is in the Xiaomi 12S Ultra. And the Xiaomi 12S Ultra was one of the first phones that I got to use with the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, which is an older chipset. It's 3 years old, but it was the shift from Samsung to TSMC. So Samsung made the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, and that chip is horse poop. TSMC made the 8 Plus Gen 1, And wouldn't you know it, when we look at a lot of our benchmarking leaks, like the benchmarks, the geek benches that have leaked on the Tensor G4, it's actually not radically outpacing a 3-year-old chip on the Xiaomi 12S Ultra. So that was the first comparison I was going to make. That here in the United States, if you think Samsung is nifty or you're team Apple or if you really love your Pixel, you're now 3 years behind on what we've been playing with. Battery tech, charging tech, camera tech, screen display tech. The Pixel is just now catching up to something that I've had in my hands for almost 3 full years now. So that was going to be my first comparison. You can choose to believe me or not. But in a conversation that we still want the camera deep dive, the main thing that's changed in terms of optics and sensors is the ultra wide. So I wasn't really planning on doing the full 45-minute, 6,000 words on the topic because this is iterative change from the Pixel 7 Pro. Pixel 8 Pro was a nudge, and now Pixel 9 Pro looks like it's going to be just another nudge. And if I throw a whole bunch of photos side by side by side, would people really be able to see the differences? So I didn't have high expectations there. I just really wanted to see, like, okay, you're telling us computational photography and a lot of this AI editing, that seems to be the big push for Pixel 9. Not improving optics, not improving sensors, not changing up the quality of the data that's being fed to the AI, just what does the AI do with it? So deep dive probably wasn't going to happen. Oh, Michael Corcoran, damn, I did not realize Apple made it so 30% of Patreon donations now go to them, WTF. Again, it would be nice if Apple had any corrective regulatory pushback because their business practices are flippin' vile. And the people who get hurt first are Apple customers. And then there's a carryover effect to everybody else. And it's brutal. It's pretty ugly. But again, Apple is really good at maintaining that plausible deniability. There's a buffer or a separation that they can claim, oh, well, it's this or it's that. And for some reason, we just keep rolling over to let Apple do whatever they want. Dave Burns. I love how monopoly and mergers have spurred so much innovation. That's great. Oh, Tech Preacher. I stopped doing speed test videos a long time ago. I totally agree with you. There was a time where the purpose of a speed app launching test video was important because it showed not how fast a phone could launch an app. That's really not as critical as they would try to make it look. But one of the things that I thought was fascinating was several years ago, you would run into those issues where you get 10 apps, you launch them, and then you go back through those 10 apps. Can the phone really multitask? The only thing a speed test was illustrative of was memory management. And that is actually kind of a useful thing to know. Hey, I'm in a new city for the first time. I've got Google Maps open, but I also need to be checking my email. Someone's texting me stuff coming in, and I've got a Notes app that I've got like important information in. Oh no, I opened my Notes app and now my Gmail closed. So the next time I open up Gmail, it has to repopulate and that takes time and that's dragging my performance on Google Maps. Like that kind of stuff matters, but it doesn't demonstrate what the speed test was claiming to do. It's not a test of phone performance. It's a test of phone memory management, RAM, and multitasking. But nowadays, especially in the AI era, even iPhones have 8 gigabytes of RAM. Like, you're fine. The speed test does nothing instructive anymore. Let me get this out of the way. I'm not sure what you're responding to, Michael Corcoran. Oh, I remember you discussing that very concept for a video or something on Best of Our Week, maybe a week and a half ago or something. Yeah, I brought it up on Best of Our Week, and I also mentioned it on something Patreon specific. But you're talking about me doing a comparison with the Pixel 9 and the Xiaomi 12S Ultra. And it really is galling to me that we keep charging consumers more and more and more. And we know that Apple is holding back on new technologies. That is a part of this DOJ case. And it needs to get way more press. how little Apple thinks of their own customers. If we could remove newer, more expensive technologies from the iPhone, we would totally do that if we knew we could get away with it and people wouldn't complain about it. Like, we have executive emails talking about slowing down the rate of progress, slowing down the improvements to technology so that they can keep charging more for the same stuff you've always had. It's a feeling we've all had. We know they're kind of doing this. But the part of a DOJ case like this is the disclosure where we get confirmation with emails and we know which executives sent those emails so that we know exactly how they feel about that. But again, even that DOJ case is not getting any traction in the media because who would criticize Apple? If you criticize Apple, then you don't get to be a part of Apple's special events and access to their executives. You don't get to play the Apple game and you'll just make less money. And this works for individual content creators all the way up to like the Washington Post. You want special access to an Apple executive to sit down and give you an interview one-on-one? Well, you got to toe the line. You got to play ball. They'll turn down the interview. They won't tell you why. They won't ever put it in writing. But, you know, if they get the sense that you're not one of those creators who's on their side or one of those journalists who supports them, well, unfortunately at this time, we've got this PR response and that's the response we're going to go with. But unfortunately, an executive can't meet with you and we can't work out the schedule on that. But if you have any other questions, please reach out to Apple PR. And we know that's what the game is. We know that's how they keep pressure on all of these entities, all of these media outlets, all of these journalists. And there's no way to push back against that on a channel like mine. There's no way to set the record straight against a $3 trillion corporation. And it's very disheartening to see other massive tech companies trying to emulate that instead of really doing the work to build up the fan base and approach consumers and build those relationships. And it's astroturfing. And that's not what I signed up for. That is not what I was originally a part of in how they pitched this. Upon us. No, some gadget guy. If you were a real influencer like certain other YouTubers, you would just use the default camera. You must be doing something wrong. Like where I immediately go straight to the pro mode. Oh no, I've been doing it wrong all this time. I love it. I love it. Pup on Tech, using emulation on Android for benchmarking is probably one of the least used yet super useful benchmarks. Things like WinLater or Yuzu will hammer phones, and something like WinLater with open source games or games you own wouldn't break anyone's terms of service. I really do want to incorporate WinLater. The problem I've had with WinLater is how spotty the support has been for Snapdragon 8 Gen 3s and how wildly inconsistent the performance has been on Dimensity 9300. So WinLater is top of mind. It's front of mind. I'm very interested in seeing what full computer emulation can bring, because what I would love to do is plug a phone into another display, get that rudimentary Android desktop mode, then fire up WinLater and have a Windows style PC, like running an emulated build of Windows on that secondary display. But so far, that has worked very inconsistently on newer phones. It's worked very inconsistently on non-Qualcomm devices, and especially like on Tensors and stuff. And it works, but it's not in a place where I can reliably test things for performance and have that be fair. Because again, if it's optimized for Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, it's not even fair to the 8 Gen 3 to show those performance discrepancies, the difference in performance. It's not there yet, but I really want it. Oh, Dr. Claw. I mean, again, we've been talking about this in the tech space, and guys like John Redinger never got enough credit. I'm not besmirching Cory Doctorow, but even Doctorow is late to this conversation. Doctorow's thread about Apple is a must-read, detailed their specific way of gaming the system, should be front-page news for as much people use Apple, major impoopification. And again, I appreciate more people coming to this conversation, but it is a little galling that someone like Cory Doctorow can shed some extra light on this, and a bunch of nerds on Mastodon are going to go, yeah, that sucks. And guys that have been punching bags for the last 8 to 10 years aren't getting any sort of recognition for how poorly they've also been treated by Apple. Like John Redinger needs to be embedded in every article about how Apple manipulates media, how Apple squeezes their devs, the dark patterns that they build to confuse and exploit their customers, and how they handle media. John Redinger's I Was Blacklisted video should be built into that. That's who actually got hurt by Apple's business practices. And John still knows that Apple is the best cash cow that he can be working. John is still a massive fan of Apple products. That doesn't help set the record straight if we're kind of just getting these little compartmentalized, like, oh, and an authority like Cory Doctorow said it too. Cool. Can he help? Like maybe give a nudge to some other people? Like I got savaged for saying I didn't want to handle Apple products when they were building back doors into their devices. Man, all of the terrible names that I was called and how I was accused of supporting the exploitation of children, like, man, that hurt. That hurt a lot. And then it just blows over. Oh, I guess Apple's going to pull that program. No harm, no foul. Like, no, I was right. And I took beating after beating after beating. And no one was like, hey, cool, man, we got you. And my traffic plummeted. And YouTube now shares my videos with the tiniest fraction of my audience or my subscriber base. And it would be nice. I'm not saying I'm owed anything, but man, it sure would be nice. So let me take another drink of water and then we should probably start wrapping this up here. Here, let me bring this down. Yeah, Dr. Claw, again, it was ugly, and Apple needs to be shown that they get ugly and punitive when someone doesn't toe the line. Dr. Claw says, the way Apple went at Redinger just because of his writing about the iPhone XR, 10R was ridiculous, and it was mildly critical. Like his video was like, hey, there's some software stuff that needs to get fixed here. And he got multiple phone calls from Apple PR telling him how to address that, how to fix his video, and then they refused to work with him ever again. That doesn't speak of a company that really makes the best product and wins through the meritocracy of building the best product. That is a company that has their boot heel on the neck of media, of journalists, and of content creators on platforms like YouTube and across the web. And it's the same company that also seems to be manipulating our experiences with search so that they can drive experiences to their own pages and sort of suck away the traffic from sites that don't want to play ball with AI. I am still viscerally angry and frustrated with Google search and with YouTube. But I've been trying in my content to talk about a massive corporation like Google is not one thing. Just like I have no love for Apple and I would never buy one of their products just for my own personal use, I was still critically excited about the M series chips because I'm an ARM nerd. And I've been seeing that there's writing on the wall that ARM could deliver a better consumer compute experience than x86 could. And I've been right. I don't care what gamers say about Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite. I was correct. But I wasn't going to buy a MacBook because it's not my workflow and it's not what I want to buy with my money, and that's not the kind of business model that I want to support. But you could still point to one division in Apple I was fascinated by and I was critically excited by. For Google, I am so upset with their AI strategy, their data center proliferation, their search strategy, and how YouTube is run as a platform. But I flippin' loved their hardware division. And getting to meet some of their engineers and the people that actually work on Pixel and earbuds and now the watch and the tablet, those those folks were cool. I like talking to hardware nerds. I am more a hardware nerd than I am a software nerd. And I always tried to carve out what Google does or what Alphabet does as an umbrella organization, trillion-dollar company. Most of it, man, that really rubs me the wrong way. But there's this little bubble. And inside that little bubble, they're jockeying for power, for resources, to try and get stuff done. And they're doing some interesting things. I liked talking about that. But now the massive parent umbrella corporation just threw guys like me and TK under the bus. And that we've never been a meaningful part of the media conversation and we're not real reviewers. So it took away the last thing that I was really always excited to look at from Google. A first party hardware division. It's like Microsoft Surface. It sets the stage. Other companies can build off of this. They can make different changes. Android is still, it's not as vibrant as it used to be, but it's still a competitive landscape with different options for different consumers. And they just killed it. And they tried to tank my credibility to fix their blunder. So it's hard for me to not take that personally. It's time to kind of wrap this up, and I want to thank everybody who was jumping in on this. This conversation in the chat was brilliant. I have a post on Patreon talking about my experiences. Here, let me, I can screen share this real quick. I have to be really careful because like I had emails up from other content creators and then from proper PR that I have not screenshotted and wiped out personal information. So again, there's going to be a part of this like, oh, just trust me, bro. But I've got receipts and I can screenshot anything if people have specific questions about my experiences or the communication that came my way. Or I can even point you to the Google blogs that did not demonstrate Team Pixel as affiliate marketing, or not affiliate, as influencer marketing. I've got it all. It's all there. What Google said was not true. And this is not how the program has ever been structured. But I do have a post that handles some of this, some of my relationship with this PR agency. And if you're on patreon.com/somegadgetguy, there's a post on Team Pixel and being an influencer. This post is free to read, but I do not publicly publish much on the Patreon. So if you become a member, you don't have to pay anything to read this if you would like more insight on what it's like to work behind the scenes with PR agencies and with the manufacturers. And I explain a lot of what TK and I went through in this specific instance from my perspective, not from TK's. I can't speak for TK. But you can read it for free. And there are a number of things that I'm starting to make more free available, but you do have to be a member. So you have to take the extra step to sign up at patreon.com/somegadgetguy. But there is content that goes up there that isn't paywalled. The 4K videos and by the benchmarks and the production diary, stuff like that, those will be perks for paying customers. But these kinds of editorials I'm opening up. And especially when I post this publicly on somegadgetguy.com, it's so weird. The stupid dances that we need to do to kind of compartmentalize our content. But there is additional information for anyone who's curious. On that post, if you have questions about the decisions that I've made, or even if you have criticisms about the way that I've handled this situation, or you feel like there is additional information to contribute, I'm leaving that off. I'm not keeping that paywalled. You're free to throw anything you want in there, and we can try and have a structural conversation. You can just call me names and I'll mute you. Again, if you just want to work out some aggression on how this is all working out, that's fine too. You can use it as therapy. But if there are any follow-up questions, that's where I'm going to be addressing them. Patreon.com/somegadgetguy. And I'm really hoping that come Thursday, because I miss just hanging out with my buddy TK and chatting about nerdy stuff that we're working on. I think we'll probably stay pixel free. There are so many other things that TK and I are covering and working on and reviewing, and articles and editorials and just like tips and tricks videos that we've been keeping on the shelf for so long right now, just because we've been getting hammered by device launches. I think it's time to shake things up. I'm tired of just reviewing gadgets, and I want to get back to doing those tech talks and camera tutorials and like how to edit something funny in your video. I want to do a video on my daughter's first editing project. She's 8 years old, and she picked up LumaFusion and shot a spooky vlog in her bedroom. And she started doing wipes, transitions, and color correction without me explaining what any of that stuff was. And I just feel like we're missing so much cool stuff. You get a gadget, and then someone tells you it has a Geekbench score and it's not as good as another gadget, and then you should just shut up and do basic things with your really expensive gadget, like watch things on TikTok. And an 8 year old picked up a busted TCL tablet and started editing a video that she shot from the selfie camera on that TCL tablet. I'm not saying my daughter is better than most content creators out there, but my daughter is better than most other content creators out there. What she did in 15 minutes in her room was a million times more empowering than most tech reviews out there that tell you you need to own a $1,200 phone to cover the basics because it's nice. So anyway, I'm super bitter is what I'm trying to say. Folks, thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity to kind of share some thoughts. I'll be back next Monday, hopefully with a proper structured show, talking about news, talking about gadgets. We're now in a lead up to whatever might happen with iPhone launches. The rumors are going to be all about that moving forward now. I have no idea what I'll be doing with Pixel, but I appreciate and I value people's suggestions. And then from there, who knows? We only live for today. So thank you so much. I'll catch you back here next week. Please take care of yourselves and your mental health and your physical health so that you can keep being the good tech neighbors for your family and friends. And I'll catch you back.